Hi, this is Tag again, and during binning of my Athlon-XP chips, I noticed that I had a bunch of fakes, so I wanted to make a video just going over a bunch of, well, fake Athlon-XP or rebadged Athlon-XP chips for your entertainment and maybe also so you can learn something about how AMD used to configure their chips using bridges back in the day. So let's start off with this here XP 2600 Plus. I need a bigger brush here. The D here signifies it's a 166 megahertz FSB chip, or I think they call it 333. Anyways, so that's good to know. Now, let's show you a website that has a lot of useful information. This Fab 51 website here has basically all your bridges explained. Now, the first one we're going to look at is obviously our here. No, where are we? Now further down, FSB here. Exactly. So we are expecting this L12 bridge here, which is here, to read for our chip. So the furthest to the corner of the chip would be here. This should be cut and the other one should be closed for 166 megahertz. Now I minimized the paint. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Now here, this cut looks original. Not this, I mean. So let's zoom in actually. Let's zoom in. Now, these are laser cuts. So AMD just sort of, well, this whole unit here is a bridge. That's basically between those 2 points. There's a tiny trace, so PCB trace, and AMD goes over them with a laser and just cuts them. Now, if you look closely here, you can probably notice that some solder mask removed. And what they did here, well, on this chip it doesn't work anymore because I accidentally removed the bodge wire they put on here. So usually there would be a bodge wire right across here when removing the label, unfortunately. And then you can also see that this cut here is kind of crooked. So this would mean, let's go back to our website, that the original was inverted. So this would have been a 333 megahertz chip. Okay. So they raised the FSB. Well, no, they did a bunch more stuff than that. That would be too easy. Just buy a lower bin chip and raise the FSB. We're actually going to have some examples of that later as well, but these were really sophisticated scammers here. If you go up here, this is the L12, L9 and L2 bridge. Now, you can see that there is a bodge wire here. Right there, there is a tiny copper wire across this bridge. And also the solder mask on these points here on the bridges is removed. Now, what does this bridge do? Well, let's go back to our website. And I find this particularly hilarious with this chip. This is, what did I say, L2. L2 level cache controls. So they are supposed to be all closed for a T-Bread 256 K of cache chip. Now, those are not relevant because those are the Duron chips. We want something based on a T-Bread core. So that would be Apple-bred Durons. And, well, the bridges read this way around. Shut up, Windows. So So what we have here with this bodge wire is they closed this here point. So this chip used to be a Duron. They re-enabled the cache on a Duron with this bodge wire here. So yeah, let's go over here and see what Duron. This L3 bridge. Now the L3 bridge on here, let's go down a bit, is our multiplier. So what does it look like? Does it look like those were original? I don't think so. I think this one is cut, but not sure. Either or is an option basically here. Now L3 is again the wrong way around, so we want something that is in the way we are reading it here. The last two are open and the rest is closed, I think. That would be 12.5x. Okay, so 12.5x, too big. 12.5 times 133. That is strange. So I don't think this is original. I think they cut one of those. And I think they cut this here. Let's look at the one. Yes, it was the one I marked. So this one I think was cut after the job. So, or after the fact rather, I mean. Which would mean that the original multiplier was 12, which would make sense because let's 133 times 12 would be 1600. No, there is such a thing as a Duron 1600. So there is, it's very likely that the chip we have here is a Duron 1600. A Duron 1600 rebranded to a Athlon 64 Athlon-XP 2600. Now they basically took one of the most like cheap chips or garbage chips and made it to one of the most expensive ones. And the funny thing about it is that the Duron cores actually didn't clock that bad. So this chip runs just fine at this setting. Now this is not one of my better overclockers, but still, I find this really fascinating. That's why I used this as the first example. I'm going to go over a few more now. Let's close, or rather open my SD card here. Let's see what we have here. What are you? You are the same one. Okay, I took 2 photos of that because apparently the one I showed you wasn't good enough, I guess. What is this? This is a Sempron. Well, here is the... Now this is cheating. I already wrote on here what it was. Now, easy way to identify fake chips. If any desktop chip has any of this L8 bridge here cut or this L6 bridge here cut, it's not a desktop chip. Because those are for... This one is here is multi. And this one here is VID. Both of those are only for mobile. There's of course also multi and VID for the desktop ones, but I have this in here because I find it really interesting. Unfortunately, I don't have a microscope. I really need to get a microscope because those little points somehow connect the bridges. They somehow connect the bridges on here with basically in a way that it doesn't look like they connected the bridges. Or it's harder to spot at least. I want to go over here. They did the same up here, and this one is scratched out, and probably this one as well. Now, this is L5. L5 I didn't do it on the previous one because it was irrelevant, but they also changed L5 on the previous one. Let's move this over here. L5 is the operation mode. It's just a thing that tells the CPU in CPU-Z what it has to identify as, basically. So you can see here is Athlon-XP. So everything but bit 0 is cut. I still hate it that they use C for closed. C could mean cut just as well. And 2 dots is what the cut looks like, but it's silly. Anyways, you can see all 3 of them have to be cut for Athlon-XP. Now this is a fake Sempron. I was still at the last chip, I guess. Fake Sempron, middle ones are cut, outer ones aren't. So this one is cut. But if we also look at this list, no, this is the wrong window. This one here I want. The way these are currently cut is, you can clearly see that this cut isn't original. Like that is some not really professional work at all. So that would mean it's either an Athlon XPM, as we already saw, we have some cut voltage bridges, or a geode. Now, the 1500 probably gives it away. This chip was a geode 1500, NX 1500. But there's also up here. Now here they connected this one and opened this one to make it a 166 megahertz chip instead of a 133, which would be the geode. Up here, I think this one they connected, so let's look at the multipliers here. We have this should be 1 0 1 1 1 in the modified version. So let's compare this bridge. We have a bunch of stuff connected. Oh, this is the middle bit, okay. Now they go from which direction here? They go from here. Okay, so we would have 9x here. Am I reading this right? Four is here. Oh, they read it like this. Okay. So we have to go connected, 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 open connected. That would be 12x. And before that it was both of those open. So they changed it from that 6x. It was 6x times wrong calc. 6x 133. That would be 800. Interesting. Am I reading this wrong? Or is this another NX 1250 and I was mistaken before? Now the width doesn't say anything. It's the same for 1500 and 1250. Oh, right. No, both of them run on 6x. On desktop, that's just something they put on the geode. So this is a 1250, and I probably figured it out based on this here. So if we look at this, it's not going to be 6x, obviously. all the XPMs and Geodes, I think, should have the desktop multiplier bridge set to 6x. So what we want here is the L6 bridge. Out go from here, and this is 0. So we have open, closed, well, wait, byte 4 is this, a bit 4 is this. So just read it like this, I guess. Closed, open, closed, closed, open. Which would be something around here. There is already a 1500 in here, so that's, though that is a Athlon. F here. That fits. Yes, that fits. So that's a 7.5x. That should mean we have 7.5 times 133. That's 1 gigahertz. Yes, that is correct. So yeah, I was correct when I wrote 1500 on here. So this Sempron 2800 was a Geode 1500, an X 1500. Anyways, let's move on to another one. I have a whole bunch of these. One says 1750, so this is probably also a Geode. Why do I make it boring and like, yeah, by now you should know the bridges, but you can in one instance see that this is not a desktop chip, and you can see that it is different from the first one we had. I'm not going to decode the multiplier here, because this one is not really particularly interesting. Besides the way that they did it really professional. There's again these dots here that basically short the bridges, and then they recut some bridges here. You really can't tell the difference, even with my relatively high resolution pictures. Now, again, I still want to get a microscope, and once I get a microscope, I'm going to do an even better video on this and try to analyze how exactly these dots connect the bridges, because that really kind of irks me that I have no clue how that really works. But anyways, this is a 1750, also disguised as a Sempron 2800 plus. Another chip. Yay. Well, great. Now this one is just in here because I got kind of curious. Now you can immediately see that this is a like a mobile chip or something. But this is in here because I noticed a pattern that some, well, computer stores or system builders or whatever like to put warranty stickers over their sketchy bridge mods. So they basically fake a chip and then they put a sticker over it to try to basically hide it, which is just, yeah. It's some next level CPU rebranding scam right there. Anyways, another one. Oh, I missed it. Ah, yes. This one is not in here because it's a fake. This is actually a real geode. I wanted to use this as a reference picture for this video, but I also find it hilarious that there's a label down here that just says this label. Yeah, I think someone was supposed to make the warranty labels, and I have no idea why they thought that would be a good idea to just make a label that says this label. I know that this is a label. Anyways, another one. Again, I spoiled the fun uh, and wrote on it what it is. This is a Athlon 2600 plus, but really it isn't. And well, there is another interesting thing here. On this one, they they filled in bridges here. Now this is a desktop chip, 1800 plus. This is a desktop chip, but they changed the VID here. This is L11 is the desktop VID bridge. By shorting these two bridges and then painting over it with green Sharpie. Some next level ingenuity right there. They also did it here, obviously, because they had to change the. So this one is 133 basically, and this one is 166. So they had to change around these two to make it a 166 CPU. And they again shorted the bridge under here and painted over with green Sharpie. And they cut this one here. Now this is a desktop chip. There is no like L2 cache disabling or anything. This is just a plain old Athlon-XP 1800 plus, rebranded as a 2600 plus. Now this chip actually clocks really decent because 1800 plus were sort of a secret tip for overclockers back in the day anyways. So I think they actually did whoever bought this a favor, because this overclocked better than most of the 2600 pluses I had. Obviously all the part numbers on here are definitely fake. So I have no idea what batch it is, unfortunately. So yeah, another one. And the pictures I took here aren't even all of the fakes I have. I have probably like 20 or 30 fake Athlon-XPs. Unfortunately, some of them obviously don't work, just like some of my regular chips. This one is in here because I'm still not sure if it's fake or not. If it's a fake, it's a really well done one, because the label down here, it just doesn't look right. But if you zoom in on the bridges, there is no, I didn't find any, like, middle mouse button. The bridges look like they have been messed with. But, like, there is no chip with native, it's only this one. This one is not changed at all. This means we have a native 166 MHz FSB chip here. And I couldn't find any 166 MHz chips native with a T-Bread core that would be modifiable to this. Well, you could modify a Sempron in theory. Those come in 166 MHz, obviously. But this chip has unlocked multiplier, and I haven't seen a Sempron with unlocked multiplier so far. Also, the Semprons have different VID. There is no like extra VID. It's just this bridge cut, so it's a 1.65 volt chip natively. It really confuses me, honestly. Maybe they just ripped off the label and like put another one. I don't get it. I just don't get it. The writing on here is clearly wrong, but I don't know how they faked it, if it is fake. Now this chip overclocks amazingly, which leads me to believe it might be something like a 1700 or 1800, but I can't really prove it. Anyways, another one. Oh, this is another one of those with the label. Yeah, great. You can already see here though that it is not a desktop chip. I'm just going to leave it at that. These are kind of boring. I should really try to take off these labels here. Maybe I do that later. No, don't save. I don't need to save this. Another one. Let's see what we have here. We have a Sempron. Oh yeah, I know this chip. I know this chip because it's really sad what they did to it. Okay, let's start off with something. Here, this one. And I think that's all we need to. I need to show you. For you to probably figure out why I find it so sad what they did here. Now let's look at the L6 bridge in here. Figure out what only the middle bit cut means. It's really easy. If it's symmetrical, it doesn't confuse me because, well, as you might have noticed, it really does. This is 5x. 666 megahertz stock clock. There is only one chip. Well, there is another one, but this is, yeah, not what we have here. What we have here, look at the bridges down here. They shorted all of them and cut this one. These are the voltage bridges. Now, what they turned this into is 1.65 volts, because only this one here connected and cut and everything else connected is 1.65. But the exact opposite of that is 1.1 volts on mobile and 1.27 on desktop, because it runs at 6x multiplier. So this is 1.1 volts, 5x multiplier. So yeah, this is a Geode NX 1250. And these chips are super sought after in the extreme overclocking community because you can achieve crazy percentage overclocking numbers on them. They have unlocked multiplier and a stock frequency of 666 megahertz. So you can achieve something like 300% OC on LN2. So that is why these chips are sought after. And they basically massacred it into a Sempron, which is completely worthless these days. Like Sempron 2600, that's like $2 tops. Here again, switcheroo from 133 to 166, and also the platform from a Geode and a Sempron to a from a Geode and a XPM, I mean, to a Sempron. Anyways, that is, I think, the worst they did to the chips so far. I think it's going to stay the worst, actually. Let's move on to something else. What are you? You are a 3200. Now this is funny. Again, you can see a mobile here and a mobile here. And those two are cut to make it from a XPM to a regular desktop chip. Now, on this one, I'm not going to bore you with the details again because this video is probably already like 30 minutes long. This is a XPM 2200 plus. Actually a decent chip for overclocking and likely better than a desktop 3200. So yeah, I actually didn't test this chip for overclocking so far, but I expect it to be good. Also, the 04 badge and the chip is unlocked. That should make you somewhat suspicious. Let's move on. I think this is another 3200. Those are some really commonly fake chips. Yeah, this one is in here because it makes, again, this is one of those where I'm 90% sure it is fake because the bridges are cut in strange ways. But I can't find a chip that like proves it. Also, the stepping of this thing is just complete bogus. This is this would suggest a Barton revision B. There is no revision B Barton. This stepping here they took from this is T-Bread B. So the revision B be a revision B T-Bread stepping. And this core is clearly a Barton core, and it also shows up in CPU-Z as such. But again, there is no obvious tampering with the bridges beyond them looking kind of strange. But I couldn't find any like chip that could have been this one and just got changed around because not one of those L12 bridges connected means native 400 FSB chip. So it's not an XPM or something like that. I don't know what it is actually. So likely a fake, but what it was before, I have no idea. And that's unfortunate with some of these chips, because with most of them I'm able to figure out what they are. But with some of them I'm not. Why do I have another picture of the geode in here? This is my NX 1250 here. Okay, so let's pull up something. One of them. Great. I guess the geode does the job.
Okay, so now that we have had a bit of an in-depth look at some of the fakes out there, I think I will take these two very suspicious looking Semprons here and do a bit of a, I don't know, I guess a scratch off ticket opening on a CPU. I hope I can get off these labels without damaging any bodge wires or something that the like scammers back then put on here. So I'm going to put some isopropanol on here and hope it dissolves the glue in at least one corner. It doesn't seem to come off. Let's heat it up a bit. Now the hot air is set to something like 100 degrees, so this should be fine. Yeah, that works better. Or does it? It seems to peel. Okay, let's see what we have on our upper bridges. It's going to be really hard to see. I will definitely make a photo, and I think if I have to do another session on the computer after this, because there is no way you're going to see this. Even I can't properly see it on some of this. But it looks like this definitely wasn't a Duron, that's for sure. There is no like modification on the L2 bridge up here. So I'm not sure what it was. I think there is two connected here. Is that cut? I think this might have been another geode. Let's peel off this one. If there is if the VID bridges for the mobile VIDs are set, actually we can see, yes, this is definitely a geode. There is a bunch of cuts here. Those are the multi-bridges for mobile. So I think this is going to be something like a Geode NX 1750 or 1500. There's definitely bodge wires underneath here. Yeah, this looks like a 1700. Yes. By looking at the voltage bridges, it looks like we have a 1700 here. Let me quickly double check. Okay, so here is the book of CPUs. Voltage bridge, yes, this is a 1700. So this is a NX 7 or 1750 rather. Geode NX 1750 here. This little chip. This was the Sempron 2600. Now let's see what the 2800 holds. And I can already see up here our L6 bridge, and it looks like it's the same. So I think we just have two 1750s. Nothing exciting. Up here, this looks rather similar to the previous chip. So I think we have another 1750. The final voltage bridge down here will tell us what it is. What do we have here? Huh. It looks like only one of them is cut. But all the ones up here are cut. So I think this is just some dirt. Or glue rather. Let's remove the glue. I'm always zoomed in. Those CPUs are too tiny. Yeah, this is just a 1750 again, with some botch wires. So we got a couple of Geode NX 1750s here. One of them pretends to be a Sempron 2600, one is a Sempron 2800. So it seems like they used the same Geode, and well, maybe they even binned them and then they slapped Sempron labels on here. Added a couple of border wires here and fixed them down with super glue. Cut a few other bridges. Anyways, so the two mystery chips were both NX 1750s. I didn't find a second NX 1250, unfortunately. Well, I think that's about it. Hope you found this at least entertaining. So yeah, bye.